Welcome to Toastmasters Bay to Bay, featuring speakers from San Francisco to Monterey. I'm your host, Denet. Today we're going to have some fun, and we're going to try having table topics. We have a theme tonight, and that's cars. Cars are something I enjoy. In fact, a little secret I'll share with all of our viewers is I actually studied vehicle design, so got a lot of passion and fun with cars. Something special about cars, how they bring excitement and enjoyment to people. And I'm looking forward to hearing some interesting car stories in tonight's program. So, for the first time ever on Bay to Bay, we're doing table topics. What is it? Well, to help you better understand it, I'm going to introduce tonight's table topic master. Please help me welcome Michael Barnaba.
Thank you, Denet. Table topics. Let me give you an example. Let's go back in time. We're all teenagers sitting at the dinner table surrounded by our family. You're wolfing down Mom's delicious meal in anticipation of being able to bail out of dinner before Dad says, "So tell me, what happened to the car?" Now, if that isn't an impromptu situation where you've got to connect the dots between your ears, your brain, and your mouth and come up with something intelligent about what the question has asked and deliver it in the allotted time. Not that your dad would ever put a time limit on you being able to say, well, what happened to the car? So table topics gives us an exercise in being able to speak in impromptu situations because you know once you get out of being a teenager, those opportunities to speak keep coming. So for our first speaker, I'd like to have you welcome a member of the Genentech Toastmasters Club, Lise Dumont. Welcome, Lise.
Thank you.
And would you pick your question?
That one.
All right, the best one. And your table topics is, James Bond and Speed Racer have special gadgets on their cars. What type of special feature would you want on your car?
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers. I'm really glad I didn't have to answer what happened to the car. The special feature I would want on my car, I'm glad to say, I already have. I didn't get it on purpose. I simply wanted the leather seats when I bought my new Prius. And to get the leather seats, I had to get this whole big package that came with all kinds of stuff. I didn't know what. But one of the things was this woman that talks to you and tells you where to go when you don't know. Now for me, this is really special because I always get lost. In fact, before I got this googad, I wouldn't have made it down here tonight. I would still be somewhere in Menlo Park wondering where Palo Alto is. But now I have this woman. She lives in my car. She talks to me in a very kind voice. She never gets mad at me. When I make a wrong turn, she says, "Make a legal U-turn up ahead." She's actually really wonderful. I don't know, how it works. I don't know how they programmed it to always tell me where I need to go, but it works like a charm. And my husband is amazed because he used to always be waiting for me, wondering where I was. Why was I always late? I got lost. I made a wrong turn. The directions were good. That's not a problem anymore. Now I simply press the button on my car, tell the nice lady where I want to go, and she always finds the way. It's really quite fabulous. If you don't have one of these in your car, go out and get them. You can get them at Costco for cheap, or you can buy a new car, trade in your clunker, get a new car for cheap, and make sure it has the navigational system in it. And you too will always find your way again. Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for our next speaker, table topic speaker from Lee Emerson Bassett, we have David Coles. Welcome, David. Square off, choose your weapon. All right. your question about cars is, today news reports state that a major automotive car manufacturer will begin a trial in California where their dealers will sell their cars through an online auction service. How do you think this will impact California car buying experiences?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters and viewers. That's a rather interesting question because I have quite a bit of career experience in this area. Even back in the 1990s and the early .com days, we were doing online car auctions at Zip2, which was the major provider of services under the online newspapers. It has never become a major market except in the used car segment simply because the products are fungible and you can't tell the difference between one and another. In addition, the service providers are the areas where the dealers make the most of their money. So when you take car selling out of the equation, you stop losing the real estate that you need to support the dealerships and the service providers. I'm not sure this is going to be a huge area impacting the car industry. Online disintermediation has been a major topic for about 15 years. It's become huge in areas such as eBay and other auction sites. That affects the economy. But for online car sales, maybe not such a big deal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. All right, and we have another speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce a lovely lady from SAP, Faria Ali. Faria, thank you. Now, Faria, you're not going to use a bunch of big words like David did, are you? Well, you're pretty smart. Pick your weapon. Everybody picks it from the middle. Good, good, good. Just like I asked you to. And this is the one that's got the glue to it. All right. Aliens have invaded our planet. And all the cars on Earth are instantaneously converted to their raw material state. What do we do?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Fellow viewers, fellow table topics, yes, having aliens invade and turn our cars into car parts would be a disastrous event. However, I think I would actually be really happy about it because I've had a very spotty past with my particular car. It is cursed, I am convinced. In the past year, the kinds of problems that have happened to most people over the course of 10 years of owning a car has happened to me in the space of about 9 months. Everything from having my car getting skunked, to having the windshield randomly split in half, to getting rear-ended on the middle of the Bay Bridge, having the speedometer melt on my car. Literally, it broke and was hanging down below zero. Kinds of things I've never even heard of. So I am actually looking forward to finding a way to get out of owning my car. And I think that if cars were to disappear, it would be a great opportunity to get us to think about other ways that we could transport ourselves. Maybe this could be the impetus to find ways for better means of transportation, like instantaneous transportation or something more along the lines of flying carpets. I think that would be really cool. So even though to many people it would become a hassle to find a way to get to work and all the places that we want to go to, I personally would be really happy to get out of having my car and will look forward to other means of transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent job. Oh, and by the way, I already have a ride home. You don't have to take me. All right, and we have another table topics speaker from Cisco Speaks, Mr. Ali Ali. Welcome. All righty then, you've got the best question. Lucky man. You just inherited your very own car manufacturing company. What would you name it, and what would you do with it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I've just inherited my very own company, and my name is Ali Ali. So you can tell that my family and I do not have a lot of imagination. So maybe it would be the Ali's car, right? But honestly, I think if I inherited a car company, I think I will invest in the future. I think the future is not to invest on those gas guzzling cars, and I think it's we should invest more in the green area. Maybe I will invest more into ways to make public transportation more efficient, more accessible, and a pleasure. I went to France last year, and I was so amazed by how much they are ahead of us here in the Bay Area or in the whole United States. And you can go everywhere and anytime, any place, using the underground system or some of the buses over the normal roads. I think with all the technologies that we have today, with the ability to reinvent ourselves, I think it's time to think again about how can we handle our transportation here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali. I honestly thought he was going to name it Car. And so now, watch with me as we have a club profile of the Next Step Toastmasters. Watch.
At Next Step, we believe that anyone joining our club would like to take themselves to their own personal growth and to a higher level than what they're at.
This is a person that's seeking to go higher in their advancement of speaking. Basically what they're looking for is a little bit more of a tougher standard.
Evaluation is what helps you get to a higher level of speaking and leadership. When the speaker comes in and says, I want to be good enough to win international contests, we give them the honest, direct feedback on what we believe will take him to that level.
Before the speech started, I asked Wani, so now what do you want out of this? Why are you repeating this, and what do you think are your strengths and weaknesses? So he gave me his impressions, and I promised, okay, I'll do my best. And here's what I observed in his speech. So that's the flip side to that would have been the structure, where it lacked a clear beginning, a body, and the end. I heard a lot about you, I learned a lot about you today, but I thought that it could have a really clear, concise.
What I really liked about your speech was the stories came from your heart. The story about your sister, the story about your Toastmasters journey, as I would have expected from a competent speaker like yourself. But the reason why you're here is to help you get to the next level. So I'm going to share with you a few things that I hope you can use in your next speeches. The very first line, very first opening.
I thought that you had some really good statistics. What I was missing a little bit is the personal connection and some stories. So I thought personalizing that a little bit more might have drawn us all in a little bit. You spent a lot of time identifying the problem, but I was missing a little bit more on the solution.
Have you watched American Idol? Yes. Well, I'm going to play the part of Simon, so buckle your seatbelts.
You have to be able to accept the input, and it's genuine, it's sincere, it's how we feel when we hear your speech, and sometimes our perception of ourselves is not exactly how the audience views us. So the main ingredient is being willing to accept the input to become better.
So take those and tie it into this message that you want to deliver to us.
Try that next time, and I think the more you're able to do that, it can be a little painful at times, but it'll be worth it to the next level. But otherwise, I thought you're at the right place to help get to that next level. Madam Toastmaster.
Welcome back to Bay to Bay Toastmasters. I like to think of Bay to Bay Toastmasters as a sample of some of the best of Toastmasters. We just had an excellent sample of what table topics are about. Now, for the second half of our show, we're going to have a prepared speaker. And the title of his speech is How I Quit Smoking. I'm looking forward to hearing this speech, so please help me welcome our featured speaker, Jack Sramek.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and viewers, this is the true story of how I quit smoking. Now, you have to understand, when I was just a little kid, knee-high to a duck, smoking was cool. I mean, it was really cool. In fact, it was so cool, they even named a brand Cool. And it seemed like all the adults around me smoked. My mom smoked, a lot of the friends of the family smoked, Hollywood stars smoked, and the advertisements were everywhere. You know, a man would walk a mile for a Camel. And of course, then there was the Marlboro Man. And for the ladies, you've come a long way, baby. So it was only natural that we would watch the adults and see what they did with cigarettes. And one of the interesting things we noticed were the grips. For instance, this was the dainty feminine grip. Okay? And this was the manly grip. And this was the multitasking grip. So again, we observed these adults, and we observed them doing some other things with cigarettes too. They could blow smoke out their nose. And some people could blow smoke rings. In fact, some people could blow a smoke ring and then blow another one through it. This was really cool. One day, we discovered that my Aunt Peg kept cartons of cigarettes in the back of her car. Well, it was an opportunity too good to pass up. So in the interest of science, we removed a few of those cartons of cigarettes. In a little while, down behind the big oak tree, you could see smoke billowing out as we commenced to smoke. We found when we tried to inhale and blow it out our nose, we practically coughed our lungs out. So we decided that the best approach really was to light it up, take a couple of puffs, and throw it away. We could go through a carton of cigarettes in no time flat. Well, Aunt Peg soon discovered that there were some cigarettes missing. So there was a family inquisition held. There we were in the living room. I was 6 years old. My brother Tom was 5. My brother Roger was 3. Mom and Dad were there. The interrogation started. Now, I thought that the 3 of us had taken an oath of silence, but my little brother kept saying, "I know Jack doesn't know anything about this," which forced me finally to capitulate and admit that I was the culprit that started the whole caper. My mom had a very interesting approach. She said, "Look, you guys, if you want to smoke, anytime you want to smoke, we have the cigarettes, we got the matches, we got the ashtrays right here. Anytime you want to smoke, just let us know. Come on in and light up." Well, that took all the fun out of it. So I gave up smoking cigarettes when I was 6 years old. When I was 13 years old, my family used to spend the summers up at my Uncle Monty's summer home up in the Thousand Islands, New York. And Uncle Monty was a college professor. And more than that, he smoked a pipe. It used to be really interesting for us kids. You know, Uncle Monty would be smoking his pipe, and you would ask him a question. And he'd take a couple of puffs and come out with words of wisdom. It never failed. So we all ran out to the town, and we got, each of us, a miniature corncob pipe. And we borrowed some of Uncle Monty's Prince Albert pipe tobacco, and we stashed it up in the rocks at our hideout. Well, one day I'm up there at the hideout by myself, and I decided I'll have a smoke. So I'm puffing away, contemplating the nature of the ultimately real. And as I'm tapping out the ashes, it hit me like a sledgehammer. I got so dizzy I could hardly stand up. In fact, I couldn't stand up. I literally had to crawl on all fours back to the house. And I told my mom I wasn't feeling very well, which was understating the situation by quite a bit. I spent the next 2 days locked in the bathroom, driving the porcelain bus and yelling for Ralph. 3 days later, I was still dizzy. Well, you might say that cured me. I gave up smoking a pipe at age 13. Well, now I'm 22 years old. I'm a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps at Quantico, Virginia, and the custom then, the cool thing to do was to have a stogie. And you could strut back and forth in front of the troops, and you could look mean and nasty and cool. Well, one night we had a night problem, and a night problem entails a lot of waiting around, lying around, waiting around in the bushes. I mean, one of the things you have to wait for is for it to get dark, right? Anyway, we're out there lying on our packs, looking up at the stars, and somebody passed out cigars. So there I am, lying on my back, looking up at the stars with the juice running down my throat, of course. All of a sudden, the stars started to move. That doggone dizzy feeling hit me again, just like it did with the pipe. So I gave up smoking cigars when I was 22 years old. Now, I've learned something from these experiences, and that is, listen to your body. It will give you the right answers. So go ye forth and do likewise. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Now I've got a couple questions for you, Jack.
All right.
First off, what club are you from?
I'm from SRI Organon in Menlo Park.
And how long have you been a Toastmaster?
Well, with the Menlo Park group, I've been a Toastmaster for 2 years. However, 35 years ago, I was a Toastmaster down in Los Angeles at the Lytton Club, and I took about a 35-year hiatus before I joined SRI.
All right, and I'm just wondering, I believe you're a pilot, is that correct?
That's correct.
But do you like cars?
Well, yes, I do. It's a good way to get back and forth to the airport.
Have you ever had a car that smoked?
That smoked? Not really. I try to keep it from smoking. I try to keep the environment clean.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that story with us. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to introduce our evaluator, a friend of mine who's from Cisco Speaks, who will be evaluating Jack's speech. So please help me welcome Hongtau Ma.
Thank you. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, especially Jack. What a wonderful, humorous speech. I lost count of how many laughs we got. And what I'm impressed because how do I quit smoking? Sounds familiar? Many people in this world have struggling with this problem. And I'm sure many of us, our friends, family has a similar problem. My brother is one of them. And his finger is actually discolored because of smoking. So your speech was immediately caught my attention because your title. And you have such a great opening because you emphasize this is a true story. Because we are always touched by true stories, and it connects with us. And from your speech, I can see that you are building a storyline. The structure of your speech was clearly designed from 6-year-old, and how do you learn? Because it was cool. The culture was your family, your friends. So you learned to smoke, and you learned a lesson. You quit, and then at 13 years old, you build the story, and you learned because your uncle was so cool, and wisdom has a pipe. You learned, but eventually it's not good for the house. At 22 years old, and you become a cool pilot because everybody's doing it and you do it, but it's not good for your health. And I can see that you are slowly building a storyline. And another thing I like the most is your jokes is not a random rolling of jokes like comedian show. You embedded your jokes in your speech, and it become one part of your speech and helps you deliver the message and communicate with every one of us. So that's the strength of you. One suggestion that I can give is pause. I noticed that your speech is intense throughout, and pause will help the audience to think. I remember one of the great Toastmasters says, pause will help your audience to think. So I would suggest next time when you deliver a speech, give the audience a little bit more time to think your message. And overall, it's a wonderful speech and terrific delivery. I enjoyed it. I'm sure every one of us enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to hear from you in the future. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Hongtau. Just yesterday, Hongtau was at a seminar on how to evaluate, and I see that he learned a lot. Today, you heard a sample of Toastmasters, and if you could put it together, you notice there's 3 pillars we follow in Toastmasters. The first one was table topics. How do you practice speaking when you're not prepared? The second part, as Jack showed us, how do you deliver a prepared speech? And the third and final pillar that we learned in Toastmasters is giving effective feedback and evaluations. So those are the 3 pillars of Toastmasters. And I've seen people come into Toastmaster clubs and they grow. People put effort into it and they get it back in return. So I encourage everyone to go check out Toastmaster clubs. Go to www.d4tm, find a club near you, and enjoy the Toastmaster experience. Good job. All right. All right.